Picture the 2017 Australian Open. It's Melbourne in January. The heat radiating off the hard court is absolutely brutal, often soaring well above 100 degrees.
Oh, yeah, it's miserable.
Right. And you are looking at this grueling 2-week gauntlet of elite physical exertion. 7 matches. You are playing against the best athletes on the planet. Now imagine winning that entire tournament, hoisting the trophy without dropping a single set along the way.
I mean, it requires a level of stamina and precision that, frankly, pushes the absolute limits of human physiology. Every single opponent is out there analyzing your weaknesses, trying to break you down over hours of play. So surviving that, untouched, it's rare.
But now add one more detail. Imagine doing all of that, completely dominating the global field while roughly 8 weeks pregnant.
Oh, man. It fundamentally rewrites what we consider medically and physically possible in elite sports.
It completely defies logic. But, defying logic is the defining characteristic of this subject of our deep dive today, Serena Williams.
Absolutely.
We've spent the week going through a massive stack of sources matched statistics, physiological breakdowns of her technique, and several competing biographies. And the mission today isn't just to rattle off the records of the greatest female tennis player of the Open era, which, for those who might not know, is the era starting in 1968 when professionals were finally allowed to compete in the Grand Slams.
Right, the modern era.
Exactly. We want to extract the deeply human story behind those 23 Grand Slam singles titles. We are going to map out how an incredibly unorthodox upbringing forged a revolutionary athlete, the extreme adversities she survived, and the profound legacy she built.
Yeah, it's a story that goes way beyond the court.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because to really understand the icon, you first have to look at the incredibly unique blueprint her father, Richard Williams, created. And it starts with a massive geographical and cultural shift. Serena was born in Michigan, but Richard deliberately moved the family to Compton, California.
Which is such a wild move.
Right. But he had studied sports success stories and believed the rough, unpredictable environment of Compton would instill this, unique kind of mental toughness in Serena and her older sister, Venus.
He took total control of their development. I mean, historically, tennis champions are bred in pristine, highly structured country clubs or these elite academies. And Richard completely rejected that ecosystem.
Completely.
He homeschooled the girls. He literally taught himself the mechanics of tennis by watching instructional tapes. And eventually, when Serena was in the 9th grade, he pulled them entirely out of Rick Matchey's prestigious tennis academy in Florida so he could coach them exclusively at home.
And he even pulled them out of the national junior tennis circuit when Serena was just 10 years old. He wanted them to focus on school and avoid burning out too early. But the sources point to a much darker catalyst for this decision.
Yeah, it wasn't just about burnout.
No, it wasn't. Richard was constantly hearing derogatory, racist comments from white parents at these junior tournaments. He wanted to shield his daughters from that toxicity. But wait, I have to challenge this strategy for a second.
Okay, go for it.
Richard sees white parents being hostile at junior tournaments, right? So his master plan to protect his daughters is to push them toward the professional tennis tour. I mean, the most historically white, elite, conservative sport in the world. That sounds less like shielding them and more like throwing them directly to the wolves.
It looks contradictory on the surface, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
But what he was doing was preventing them from being broken while they were still vulnerable children.
Ah, I see.
By the time they reached the professional stage, they wouldn't be kids seeking approval from a hostile establishment. They would be undeniable forces of nature. What's fascinating here is how this isolation functioned almost like an incubator.
An incubator?
Yeah, by removing Serena from the junior circuit, Richard ensured she wasn't being molded by traditional coaches who would try to, fix her game to look like everyone else's.
Okay, I look at it like a tech startup operating in stealth mode.
Oh, that's a good way to put it.
Right. When a company has a revolutionary product, they don't take it to the regional trade shows to be picked apart by competitors. They hide it in the garage. They keep their most valuable assets entirely out of the traditional developmental pipeline, so the competition has absolutely no idea what is coming. Richard preserved their unique game by hiding it in plain sight.
And we really have to look at the mechanics of what they were building in that garage. The traditional women's game at the time was characterized by finesse, flat strokes, and a closed stance, meaning players would, step across their bodies to hit the ball.
Very traditional, very structured.
Exactly. But Serena and Venus were developing a completely unprecedented style. They used an open stance, allowing them to utilize their full kinetic chain, so rotating their hips and core to generate overwhelming, explosive power. Serena turned her serve into a lethal offensive weapon rather than just a way to start the point.
So when they finally launched out of stealth mode, the tennis establishment was completely unprepared for the sheer velocity of the ball. I mean, Serena turned professional in 1995. She actually had to use a wild card, which is when tournament directors grant a player entry bypassing the standard age or ranking rules just to play her first professional event.
Because she was so young.
Exactly. And by 1999, she won her first major at the U.S. Open, becoming the second African-American woman to win a Grand Slam singles tournament, following the great Althea Gibson.
But with that explosive visibility came intense scrutiny. And the very hostility her father had anticipated came roaring to the surface, which brings us to a massive catalyst in her career, the 2001 Indian Wells tournament.
Right. During that event in California, Richard Williams reported that racial slurs were being hurled at him and his daughters by spectators. The crowd was incredibly hostile, booing Serena relentlessly during the final.
It was a very dark moment for the sport.
The environment was so deeply toxic that Serena and Venus made a monumental decision. They boycotted Indian Wells. Now, this was a mandatory stop on the WTA Tour, essentially the fifth biggest tournament in the world.
Yeah, you don't just skip Indian Wells.
But Serena maintained that boycott for 14 straight years. She sacrificed ranking points, massive prize money, and career momentum to draw a hard line regarding her own dignity.
It was a declaration of absolute autonomy. And remarkably, setting that boundary preceded one of the most dominant runs in the history of the sport. The 2002 to 2003 season.
The legendary Serena Slam. She held all four major titles simultaneously: the French Open, Wimbledon, the U.S. Open, and the Australian Open.
Unbelievable.
Here's where it gets really interesting. To achieve that non-calendar year Grand Slam, she had to defeat the exact same person in every single one of those finals, her older sister Venus.
Yeah, that part is just, it's hard to fathom.
I want you to think about your own sibling, or your absolute best friend. Imagine you are both vying for the biggest promotion of your life. But to get it, you don't just have to outperform them. You have to publicly dismantle their dreams on a global stage 4 consecutive times.
The psychological compartmentalization required to execute that is staggering. I mean, they shared a house, they trained on the same courts, they were each other's only true support system in a predominantly white sport.
Right.
They would eat breakfast together and then go out and try to destroy each other's life's work.
Right.
To do that, and maintain a loving relationship off the court, it points to an incredibly rare emotional maturity.
Achieving the Serena Slam firmly established her as the undisputed player to beat. But the physical and mental toll of holding that towering peak inevitably caught up to her.
The transition from absolute dominance to a series of crashes happened very quickly, and the friction started with a match that literally altered the technological landscape of sports. The 2004 U.S. Open quarterfinal against Jennifer Capriati.
Oh, this match. During this match, the umpire, Mariana Alves, made multiple glaringly incorrect calls against Williams. Serena would hit a blistering winner, the ball would clearly land inside the line, even leaving a visible skid mark on the clay or hard court, and Alves would overrule the line judges to call it out.
It was infuriating to watch.
It was so egregious that it forced the sport to face a mechanical reality. Serena was hitting the ball so fast, often over 120 miles per hour, that it physically exceeded the frame rate of human vision. Human umpires simply could not trap her power accurately.
Her bad calls directly birthed the Hawkeye computer replay system we have today. The sport had to upgrade its technology just to keep up with her physics.
That is insane.
But while her game was forcing technological revolutions, she was quietly spiraling personally. By 2006, Serena was struggling with severe depression, compounded by a string of brutal physical injuries. She stayed away from tennis for 6 months, engaging in daily therapy. Her ranking plummeted to world number 139.
And the sports media ecosystem was absolutely merciless. Commentators were openly calling her a has-been, claiming her focus was gone and her era was over. Which makes her arrival at the 2007 Australian Open one of the greatest plot twists in sports history.
Oh, the 2007 run is legendary.
She enters the tournament entirely unseeded. Commentators are visibly criticizing her on air, calling her out of shape and predicting an early exit. And she responds by steamrolling her way to the final, where she absolutely dismantles Maria Sharapova, losing only 3 games in the entire match.
It was a clinical execution.
Yeah.
Just a masterclass. But the turbulence wasn't over. In 2009, she had the infamous foot fault outburst at the U.S. Open.
Right.
For context, a foot fault is when a server steps on or over the baseline before their racket makes contact with the ball. A line judge called it on Serena at a crucial high-tension moment, and Serena unleashed a barrage of verbal threats at the official. It resulted in massive fines and a probationary period.
And just 2 years later, in 2011, she faced a genuinely life-threatening health crisis. She suffered a pulmonary embolism, multiple blood clots in her lungs. She spent days in the hospital, literally fighting for her life.
When we look at this era, the outbursts, the sheer cliff drop in rankings, the near-death experiences, we have to look at how she actually plays the game. Her style relies heavily on high-risk, high-reward mechanics.
Yeah, she goes for it all.
Exactly. She targets the absolute corners of the court. She hits massive, blistering winners. But to do that, she also accepts a very high number of unforced errors.
It's like she plays the game exactly the way she experiences life, operating right on the edge of disaster, but maintaining a profound underlying trust in her ability to hit her way out of it.
That's a great way to put it.
And the statistics from our sources back this up in an incredible way. She has won 3 Grand Slams after saving match points during the tournament.
Which is mind-blowing.
It really is. That means she was backed into the ultimate corner, a single point away from being eliminated, and she possessed the mental mechanics to shut out the noise, hyper-focus, and completely reverse the momentum. That is a record in the sport.
Surviving those blood clots and that dark period set the stage for her second act. She wasn't the teenage prodigy crashing the gates anymore. She was a seasoned veteran chasing the historical records of legends like Steffi Graf and Margaret Court.
So in 2012, she won Olympic gold in singles, achieving a career Golden Slam, which means winning all 4 majors and Olympic gold over the course of a career. And then, completely defying all standard age curves for tennis players, she went on an incredible run in 2014 and 2015, capturing her second Serena Slam.
Holding all 4 majors at the same time again.
While in her 30s.
The sheer longevity of that dominance is wild. The women she was beating in 2015 grew up watching her win in 1999. But as she pushed deeper into her 30s, the physical preservation required became more complex, leading us right back to our opening hook.
2017. Winning the Australian Open while pregnant. She steps away to have her daughter, Olympia, dealing with severe life-threatening complications during the birth due to her history of blood clots.
It was terrifying.
But she returns in 2018, fighting her way back to the U.S. Open final against Naomi Osaka. Now, we need to break down the mechanics of the controversy that exploded during that match.
It was a massive collision of strict officiating and high-stakes pressure. Early in the match, the umpire, Carlos Ramos, issued Serena a code violation, ruling that her coach, Patrick Mouratoglou, was giving her hand signals from the stands.
And Serena was furious. She insisted she doesn't cheat and hadn't even looked at her coach.
Right. The tension boiled over, and later, out of sheer frustration, she smashed her racket. By the rules, a second violation results in an automatic point penalty.
She felt her character was being attacked. She confronted the umpire during a changeover, eventually calling him a thief for taking a point away from her. The umpire then issued a third violation for verbal abuse, which carries a staggering game penalty. She ended up losing the match to Osaka, and the trophy ceremony was completely overshadowed by the crowd booing the officials.
This raises an important question, one that the sources show reverberated far beyond the tennis world. Following the match, Serena explicitly called out the double standards in sports officiating.
And the sources document this very clearly.
Exactly. The data shows that male players frequently argue with umpires, sometimes using explicit language, without receiving game-ending penalties. She pointed out that she was being heavily penalized for her emotions in a way that men simply are not.
It forced the viewing public to grapple with the intersections of race, gender, and sportsmanship. It held a mirror up to the culture. The question was raised, why are people so deeply uncomfortable with a black woman expressing anger or demanding respect on a court, when white male players like John McEnroe built their entire brands on throwing tantrums that were celebrated as passion or competitive fire?
That thematic tension, the establishment trying to police her behavior, soon shifted to the establishment trying to police her body. We saw this vividly at the 2018 French Open.
Oh, the catsuit.
Yeah, she walks onto the clay courts in Paris wearing an incredible full-body black compression catsuit. Now, the crucial context here is that this wasn't just a fashion statement.
No, not at all.
She was wearing compression gear specifically to help manage blood circulation and prevent the very blood clots that nearly killed her during childbirth.
And the French Tennis Federation's response was to ban the outfit. The president of the federation publicly stated that the suit didn't respect the game and the place and implemented a stricter dress code moving forward.
It's an astonishing level of gatekeeping.
It really is. And her response the next time she stepped on the court for the U.S. Open, she walked out wearing a custom-designed designer tutu.
I love that.
It was an absolute masterclass in silent defiance. You want to police my body and enforce a rigid, traditional aesthetic? Fine, I will wear the most exaggerated theatrical version of a traditional tennis outfit imaginable, and I will still destroy my opponent.
Her impact was simply too large to be contained within the white lines of a tennis court, and she carried that exact same autonomy into her business ventures.
She launched Serena Ventures, a venture capital firm that focuses on early-stage companies, specifically investing in startups that level the playing field for women and people of color. She became a minority owner of the NFL's Miami Dolphins. She and Venus founded the Yatoon Price Resource Center in Compton, a philanthropic effort named after their half-sister who was tragically murdered to help people affected by trauma and violence.
She was actively building an empire that didn't rely on a racket.
Which contextualizes her announcement in August 2022. When she revealed she was stepping away from the game, she deliberately refused to use the word retirement.
Right, she called it an evolution.
She played a highly emotional final run at the 2022 U.S. Open, bowing out gracefully, and the entire sports world seemingly said goodbye to the player who defined an era.
Seemingly being the key word there.
Right, because the sources we pulled for this deep dive hold a genuinely shocking plot twist. So she evolves away in 2022. The tributes pour in, the retrospective documentaries are made, but according to the current data we have, she is slated to make a return to professional tennis at the 2026 Queen's Club Championships, playing doubles with Victoria Mboko, and then the Berlin Open, playing alongside Karolina Muchova.
It's just incredible.
So what does this all mean? Why does an athlete who has literally 23 Grand Slams, who has survived the darkest valleys and the highest peaks, who has accumulated hundreds of millions of dollars and has absolutely nothing left to prove to anyone, why does she come back 4 years later just to play doubles?
Because doubles is a fundamentally different experience. You only have to cover half the court, the pressure is shared, and it's inherently more social.
It's less isolating.
Exactly. Throughout her early life, her path was dictated by her father's grand plan. Throughout her prime, her daily existence was dictated by the grueling, isolating demands of the tour, the pressure of maintaining the #1 ranking, the physical toll of her power game. Coming back in 2026 to play doubles is the ultimate flex of autonomy. She's playing purely for the joy of the game. The pressure of legacy is entirely gone.
It's the perfect capstone to an unbelievable arc. I mean, we've gone from the public courts of Compton, hiding in stealth mode, to the blinding lights of 23 Grand Slam victories. We've seen her push through a 14-year boycott of a major tournament, battle severe depression, survive multiple life-threatening blood clots, force the adoption of new technology, and carry an entire sport into the modern era with her unprecedented kinetic power.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, there is a profound psychological lesson in how Serena handles the chapters of her life. When she announced her evolution in 2022, it felt to the public like a heavy door slamming shut.
Yeah, everyone thought it was the end.
But her unexpected 2026 return to doubles challenges us to reframe how we view our own lives. How often do you view shutting a door as a permanent, rigid ending? We convince ourselves we have to walk away forever to move forward.
Right, that's final.
But in reality, true mastery, true ownership of your life and your skills means you earn the right to reopen that door whenever and however you choose. You don't have to carry the weight of the world every time you step onto your chosen court. Sometimes you can just play for the love of it.
You get to write your own rules. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into a revolutionary life. Keep questioning the boundaries in your own world, keep learning, and join us for our next exploration.